Hello, everyone. We are having American Sign Language interpretation tonight. So we ask that when not speaking, that you turn off your video. But it is important to have your video on when speaking so that the interpreter can see your face and your expressions. Okay. Welcome, bienvenidos and bienvenido. We are very excited to have everyone here today. Thank you for sharing your valuable time to help guide the outcomes of this project. I'm Carly Foster, and you are joined here tonight by many other members of the project team who will introduce themselves shortly. Just a quick note on translation services tonight. For American Sign Language interpretation, we will pin our interpreter, and we ask that those that are participating, when not speaking, to keep your video off to allow the interpreter to focus. Boone is also going to drop in the chat instructions for folks to reach the Spanish and Portuguese translation. As everyone gets settled in, please take a moment to update your name by hovering over your name in the participant window, clicking more, and rename. Provide your name and city. We're very excited to have you sharing your valuable time to help guide us. So before we get started, we have some quick housekeeping items to take care of. To ensure we limit background noise, we ask that everyone remain on mute when not speaking. This is the second meeting today. The first was phone only, and this one is via Zoom. We chose these approaches to provide more options for people to engage in the project. We want to make sure that everyone is heard and also that we share important information with you. That means that we have broken this meeting into two parts. We have a short presentation that should take about 20 minutes. And throughout the presentation, we're going to pose questions to you for response in the chat. And you can also ask questions in the chat. Our team will make an effort to respond to the questions either in the chat directly or at the end of the presentation before the breakouts. We ask that you keep the chat for question and answer and responding to our questions, but limit the dialogue in order to limit distractions. And if there's any questions we don't get to during this initial part of the meeting, we'll follow up with those responses after the meeting. We'll update our FAQ. We'll spend most of our time together tonight in breakouts to ensure that your perspective is represented. So please stick around for those. That will be about an hour and 15 minutes of time that we'll have breakouts. The meeting is being recorded, and this initial presentation will be live streamed. We'll post the initial presentation recordings to YouTube, but the breakout recordings will just be kept by the project team to make sure that we've captured everything. So I'm going to kick it to Drew Curtis from Ironbound to share our community meeting guidelines. Drew?
Thank you, Carly. And welcome everybody to this meeting. I'm really excited for a great discussion tonight. But to do that, I just wanted to go over some guidelines for respectful discussion. First, let's assume good faith in each other and all of our different viewpoints. We're all here to make our communities better together. As we're talking, know whether to step up or step back too. If you find yourself talking a lot, well, that's okay, and we welcome it. You may want to step back some and let someone else talk more, and then vice versa too. If you're sometimes shy and you don't always like to talk, it's okay. We want you to be here. We want to hear you. So step up. And just remind yourself, like, why am I talking to? It's something, make sure that you're adding something new and valued to the conversation too. Of course, let's make sure we recognize and respect each other's feelings, backgrounds, and cultural differences. That's what makes our communities great too. And also, we want to use one mic and make sure that there's one person speaking at a time. So There's a couple ways you can do that. You can hit the raised hand feature on the bottom by the reaction tab, or you can type the word stack into the chat box and the facilitator will call on you. And then lastly, and certainly not leastly, have fun. That's what we're really here for. We want to have a great discussion, get feedback, and have some fun together. So thank you. Back to you, Carly.
Thanks a lot, Drew. So before we begin, we want to find out who's in the room tonight. So please respond in the chat. How do you experience Resilient Northeastern New Jersey? Are you a resident of Newark, Hoboken, Jersey City, or Bayonne? Do you work in one of these areas? Are you a concerned neighbor or visitor, a subject matter expert? Let us know in the chat. And just so you know, the chat is an important place for us to gather feedback tonight. We're going to record everything that's in that chat. So tonight we're hoping to share information about the project and why it's important, how the plan that we'll develop together can help the region build resilience. What is resilience anyway? What we've heard so far, what we've been up to so far, and how you can stay connected and involved throughout the entire project. We're also hoping to learn from you what matters most to you in your communities, how you've been impacted by flooding, what you want to see change and stay the same. We also want to know what factors you think are most important when making decisions and how we can ensure this process will work for you. So we'll be introducing the project team in a moment, and we'll be opening up with opening remarks. But we also want to hear from you what you're hoping to get out of the meeting today, what you're hoping to contribute. And if what you're looking for is not going to be captured within our agenda tonight, we may be able to find a way to work it into the Q&A or post breakouts. So please let us know. This also will not be our last meeting on this topic, as we are at the beginning of this process, and we'll talk about other ways to get involved further in this presentation. And because we're live streaming, we do have folks also monitoring that chat. So Resilient Northeastern New Jersey is a partnership between Jersey City, Newark, Hoboken, Bayonne, Hudson County, and the community-based organizations of Ironbound Community Corporation and Hope's Cap. Representatives of these entities sit on the project steering committee, and the project is funded and administered through NJDEP. It's also further guided by a community advisory council, or CAC, that's comprised of a diverse group of residents from each municipality. Some of them are here tonight. And the CAC meets formally quarterly with collaboration in between, and they're a paid part of the project team. The consultant support consists of an interdisciplinary team of engineers, scientists, technology developers, and planners from the organizations that are listed on the bottom, as well as enterprise community partners that are working directly with NJDEP. Additionally, we actively reach out to and integrate input from local community-based organizations. We've reached out to 65 so far. We'll be engaging actively with local, state, and federal agencies that can affect flood risk in the region. And input and decision support from community members like you are extremely critical to the project's success. So we'll take a moment to introduce members of the project team. And as I call on you, please let us know your name and role in the organization, and we'll work in the opening remarks as we do that. So I'm going to turn it over now to Dave Rosenblatt, who is our State Resilience Officer and with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here with us. Yes, I am the state's Chief Resilience Officer. I've been charged by Governor Murphy with helping the state prepare for climate change, making the state adaptive to the changes that we know are coming as a result of increased temperatures. Those include sea level rise, increased precipitation, changes to our forests, to our agriculture. So we have a very big job to do. We have prepared within DEP already a scientific report on climate change, a sea level rise guidance document, our draft resilience strategy, which is out for public review right now. And we recently issued the toolkit, New Jersey Resilient Toolkit for local planning. The 4 documents are a good start, but what we really need is the grassroots effort that you're involved in. We need to reach deep into the community, find people who are going to experience their community as it changes, determine what they want the community to look like, how we can adapt to the changes that are coming at a very local level. So the work that you're doing is extremely important. We're not going to make a lot of headway in Trenton without the local initiatives that you're involved in. So I just want to say that I'm looking forward to working with you. I'm looking forward to the products that you have, and looking forward to a good future in New Jersey despite the changes that are coming. So good luck to you, and we'll work together for quite a while. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dave. And we're also joined, I believe, by other members of the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection tonight. Meg Kavanaugh, if you could just let folks see you.
It's not allowing me to start my video, but I can say
That's
hello. Yeah, I'm a planner with the DEP, Bureau of Climate Resilience Planning. Hello, everyone.
Hi. And we're also joined by Alan Miller with NJDEP.
Part of the Community Collaborative Initiative, and I work with both Bayonne and Jersey City on their priorities.
Welcome. And I believe we're joined tonight by Jim with the Community Advisory Council. Jim, you were going to share some opening remarks as well. Jim Young.
I'm
You're
unmuted.
able to. Yep. And
okay. Well, let me do video for some reason, but that's okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Young. I work with the organization, and I'm also with the South Ward Environmental Alliance. I'm part of the South Ward team, also a district leader in my community. And I think this project is so important to provide the environmental leadership and advocacy in terms of educating community about flooding and its correlation to health and flooding and how it impacts our community. I'm looking forward to working with many organizations and members of the community to make this happen, to develop a plan that will be successful and that will be part of the concerns of the community.
thank you so much, Jim. And Drew, are we joined by any other members of the Community Advisory Council that you want to introduce? There you are. I see you on video now.
Yeah, I think we have a few people. I think I saw Ayana on here. And there's one, if you want to jump on and say hi real quick. And if I'm missing anyone else, please feel free to unmute. Ahmed, you're on if you want to say hi. Jeff.
Everyone, this is Ray from Jersey City.
Good evening, everybody. This is Jeff Allen, a resident of Jersey City.
Great, welcome. And so now we'll introduce members of the steering committee. We'll start with some opening remarks from Kate Lawrence from Jersey City, who is on our steering committee.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. So yeah, my name is Kate Lawrence. I'm the Sustainability Director for the City of Jersey City. And as part of my work with the city, I've had the pleasure of working on resiliency planning and climate action planning for Jersey City. However, as many of you know, resiliency and flooding doesn't stop at municipal borders. And sometimes the best solutions are regional or even statewide. If we wanted to look at capital planning projects, as well as legislation, sometimes the best approach is to work with neighboring municipalities. So I know that there's been a lot of great work that's been happening in Newark and Bayonne and Hoboken, and I look forward to working with them and working with all of the residents of those cities to identify the best solutions to make our region as resilient as possible and stronger and greener. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much, Kate. And we're also joined by other members of the steering committee. You all met Drew Curtis with Ironbound.
Hello again, y'all. Excited to be here.
And Suzanne Mack.
Hi, I'm here. Nice to see you all here tonight. Nice bunch. I'm from Bayonne, by the way.
She's a planner from Bayonne. We've got Jennifer Gonzalez.
Hi, everybody. Jennifer Gonzalez, Director of Environmental Services for the City of Hoboken. And we're just very excited to be part of this regional initiative and really just looking forward to hear what everyone has to say tonight. So thank you for having us.
We have Natalie Augusto Filion from Newark.
Hello, my name is Natalie Augusto Filion, and I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer for the City of Newark. Fantastic to have you all here.
Kevin Force.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Kevin Force. I'm a principal planner with the Hudson County Division of Planning, and I'm really excited to talk with everyone this evening about resiliency in our community.
And let me see if am I missing? Oh, we've got Evelyn Mercado.
Good evening, everyone. This is Evelyn Mercado. I'm the Director of Community Programs at Hope's Capping, located in Hoboken. Thank you very much for having me.
And I missed Emily Goldstein from NJDEP earlier.
Hi, everyone. Really nice to be here with you this evening. I'm with NJDEP, and I'm a planner for Resilient New Jersey. Excited to see you all.
Great. Am I missing anyone from the steering committee? I see Joe Ryan is on, also from Bayonne.
Hi, very good to join everyone. Look forward to the discussion.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And then you also have members of the consultant team on the line, but we'll allow them to introduce themselves when we move into the breakouts to allow us to be careful on our time. So the goal of the project is to develop a regional actionable plan that addresses flood hazards in the region now and 50 years from now. The intent is to build off existing efforts, tie them together into a cohesive strategy, and help fill in the gaps, and do this based on what the people who live, work, and play in the region say they need. This will require collaboration with a wide variety of stakeholders. As you see here today, the diversity of folks that we have here, as well as technical specialists, ensuring that recommendations will actually work and improve quality of life, as well as reduce risk and promote regional investment, are all priorities. And that means that we're going to be needing to think about environmental, economic, recreational, and other benefits that the effort can provide. Many people have told us so far that they want to see a legacy of cooperation and collaboration left by the project at all levels, as well as community empowerment and a significant focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And a regional planning effort like this one could affect people's lives for generations, and input from people who live in the area is as critical, at least as critical, as technical data and analyses. So diversity, equity, and inclusion are central to the mission of the project, and we're working hard to bring these principles into every aspect of the project. Boone is dropping the link to our working definition of diversity, equity, and inclusion into the chat. You'll want to hit the plus sign to see more, but these definitions have been developed in collaboration with the steering committee, and we can evolve how we talk about this and other topics throughout the project. We want to hear from you to help us find ways to continuously improve. And some of the things that we're doing now, the project team includes 2 community-based organizations. And as I mentioned before, we've reached out to more than 65 additional organizations on feedback for how we can move the needle to be more inclusive in our process. Based on early feedback, we're trying to provide as many different ways to engage with the project as possible, both digital and non-digital. And we'll talk about these different ways to engage in a few minutes. And right now we're providing surveys, community art projects, 2-page project information in Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic, Polish, Hindi, Gujarati, simplified Chinese, Korean, Tagalog, and Haitian Creole. The website, we're going to have to pin Simon because I think there we go. Just wanted to make sure that we pinned Simon. There we are. I think everyone can see you now. Okay, wonderful. So the website can be translated in many different languages directly into the website. And tonight we have engineers and specialists from our project team who speak Spanish. We have Portuguese translators and Spanish translators, as well as American Sign Language interpreters who are supporting language inclusion. And the meeting earlier tonight was phone only to support people who might not be able to use the phone or who might only be able to use the phone for any number of reasons. So let us know in the chat, what diversity, equity, and inclusion means to you and what you think are the best ways to achieve that. So the project will build on significant efforts that are underway in your municipalities, counties, and by the state. And as Kate outlined, the goal is to honor and build on that work, not duplicate or supplant it. And that includes leveraging input that you may have already provided to those other projects. We're reviewing and integrating whatever we can get our hands on from prior engagement efforts. And during the next community meeting, we expect to dive more deeply into existing projects, as well as parallel projects that we're collaborating with. For example, we're collaborating with local, state, and federal stakeholders and partners who are leading or are involved in parallel projects in the region. And that meeting is going to be in late July. So please look out for that and please join us. The project is going to talk about flooding in 2 different ways: storm-related flooding and non-storm-related flooding. Storm-related flooding can come from major rain events or coastal storms like hurricanes, tropical storms, nor'easters. And the water from those events can flow into homes, businesses, streets, and other important community assets. And it can also come from the sky in the form of rain. It can come from beneath us when the storm system overflows. It can come from the sea with storm surge, and it can come from rivers, basically anywhere. Non-storm related flooding will most commonly come from high tides, when the pull of the moon pulls water high in certain areas. And over time, both storm-related flooding and non-storm-related flooding are getting worse, both due to changes in sea level rise and in changes in rainfall amounts. And that can affect groundwater as well as our drainage systems. But flood risk is not new to these areas. Almost 10 years ago, Hurricane Sandy impacted this entire region. And flooding happens in other ways here. All 4 cities have neighborhoods where regular flooding occurs when there is heavy rainfall. Flood risk can also exacerbate other issues felt by the communities. The region has a lot of brownfields or contaminated sites, and flooding can release hazardous materials from those sites into the environment and neighboring communities, causing near and long-term health problems. Repetitive flooding can lead to disinvestment in communities where deliberate action is not taken, deepening inequality. And during the breakouts, we're going to talk about how you experience flooding and where. But if anything is coming up for you now that you want to share in the chat, please feel free to let us know. So what do we mean when we say resilience? Because Resilient Northeastern New Jersey intends to increase resilience throughout the region. It's our ability to change, adapt, and respond to changing conditions or sudden storm events, for example, and still work and grow to improve quality of life. It requires strength and adaptiveness across all social, environmental, economic, governance, and physical infrastructure. It means more than risk reduction. It means thinking about how flood protection might provide additional value to the community and quality of life beyond reducing risk. Infrastructure and places you rely on every day that we may not always even be aware of in and outside of the region, and how these work together as part of an overall system, and what it will take to make these systems more resilient. It means thinking about what is needed to create places that can continue to change with changing conditions, and also about ensuring that decision-making is inclusive of and centers the needs and perspectives of people who could be affected by those decisions, and whether it might be possible to bring in solutions that can help move the needle toward better outcomes overall. So this is just the beginning of a year we will spend together working through steps to develop an action plan to build flood risk resilience across the region. We'll meet again towards the end of July. We're looking at July 28th, we think, to advance on some of what we talk about today, possibly to dive a bit deeper into risk and tools to address risk. And in the fall, we'll dive into possible scenarios to refine them into a final action plan over the winter and next spring. And with each wave of the project, we're going to share back out what we've learned so that you can see and you can comment on it, and so that we can refine it before it's ever finalized. Each short report will become a piece of the final action plan. So here is an example. The About Our Region report is a report the team developed based on documentation we reviewed at the very beginning of the project. We did this to make sure that we understand the context within which we're working, and that we're appropriately integrating all of the work and engagement that the region has done recently. Boone is dropping a link to the report in the chat, just in case you'd like to download it. And please feel free to review and comment on the report anytime over the coming months. The risk assessment is being developed based on new data developed by New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. All the historical data about flooding that we can get a hold of, and also input from you and others about how and where you currently experience flooding. The project will look at flood hazards we talked about earlier, and it will also look at both current conditions and conditions with sea level rise, as well as increases in rainfall that's expected to happen within the next 50 years. Those models that NJDEP is developing will look at types of conditions that are not typically covered in FEMA flood maps. FEMA flood maps are maps used by multiple levels of government to set policies for people within flood zones. And we've recently received the new models and are testing and checking them to make sure that they're ready to be used by the risk assessment. And so we'll be talking more about them during the next meeting. So far, we've been working with the Community Advisory Council, the Steering Committee, and community-based organizations, as well as through various digital means and non-digital means, such as the hotline, to collect input. We held a meeting with state and federal agencies also to learn more about their work and what they're doing in the region, and to make them aware of the project. We've heard from people that they're concerned about property damage, loss of life, impacts to their ability to move around the region, as well as impacts to water quality and the release of hazardous waste. And for their vision of the future, we've heard that people want to see waterfront walkways completed and to be able to make their communities more walkable. And they've been sharing a vision for cleaner, greener streets, more trees, more resources during disasters, and projects that create green jobs. We've also heard a lot about ways to create deeper community connectivity. And so during exercise 1 of the breakouts, except for those that select the technical deep dive option, we'll be continuing that conversation about ideas and experiences regarding your vision on flooding. So through the next year, the region team will hold meetings to gather input, These will be advertised on the website, social media, through email. We'll also be reaching out to the community-based organizations for help in getting the word out. We've also put out surveys roughly each season, or we will be putting out surveys each season. Our spring survey, which is our first survey, is currently live and contributes directly to the project work. We've also provided materials for folks to conduct their own meetings about the project. They are available on the website and include content and a link where you can share feedback from your meeting, have a dinner at your home, meet with friends at a park, have coffee, or hold a Zoom call, and you can use the materials we provided, or you could do it completely off the cuff. Just talk about the project and share your feedback from those meetings to the project team. You can share it through the link that we provide, or you can share it through our hotline that's on the screen, social media, through our email address, and you can also engage directly through social media. We'd also love to see artwork from you or any adults or kids of all ages that you might want to provide. We've also produced an engagement app that you can use to share feedback anytime, anywhere that works for you. You can take pictures of things you love or want to change, complete surveys, share other input, and the input comes straight to the project team. You can download the app through one of these links. If we have time at the end of the meeting, I might actually demonstrate some of this for you, but I want to get us to the breakouts as soon as possible. So I'll move on from demoing the app for now. So let us know, if you see yourself conducting a meeting or having conversations about the project that you'd be willing to share with us. Why or why not? Do you think you might be willing to download an app that you could use, and anywhere you go, you can take pictures of things that you like, things you want to change. You can respond to surveys and download and save our events directly to your calendar. And let us know if anything's missing. If you think that any of the mechanisms that we've talked about for engaging with this project, if there's something that's not working for you, if there's suggestions that you have to make sure this process is valuable for you, and that's something that we'd love to also hear about in the breakouts. So, okay, the breakouts that I've been promising. So please stay for these. Here you'll be able to share your feedback directly to the region team. We have 2 different types of breakouts. One will cover 3 exercises, and one will deep dive into 1 exercise. For the first type, exercise 1 will cover your vision and priorities for the future and your experiences with flooding. Exercise 2 will talk about parts of your community that matter most to you and that you want to maintain into the future, or things you think might be missing. And exercise 3 is going to dive into the toolkit, and we'll talk about the most important factors to you that should be considered when looking at solution alternatives. For the 3 exercise breakout, we have different breakouts for Newark, Hoboken, Bayonne, and Jersey City. For Spanish, we also have a breakout. We have a breakout for Portuguese, and we also have one for the whole region that will include sign language interpretation. So if you are here for sign language interpretation, please let us know in the chat, and we will make sure that you join the interpreter. The second type of breakout will deep dive into the 3rd exercise on the toolkit and evaluation criteria. And that is for people who have already contributed to the survey or have contributed directly to other plans, or would like to spend more time contributing to the toolkit and evaluation criteria development tonight. So if you didn't already let us know when you registered, please let us know in the chat which breakout you prefer based on the list on the screen. And if we don't receive your preference, we will automatically reassign you probably to the large region breakout. And so just to give Megan some time to accommodate final preferences, we're going to take a couple questions from the chat or that we've received before the meeting. And we'll be, like I said before, we're going to share everything we hear today through the website and with links provided through social media. And so Megan's going to let us know when she's ready, and then we'll launch. So I'll stop sharing my screen. So that we can take questions. So someone sent me a direct message asking about Arcadis. Arcadis is the firm that I work for. It's a design and consulting firm. I am most of our team is locally based, and I'm a resilience planner. That's my background. And so our firm consists of engineers, scientists, technical specialists, and then the other folks on the project team include one architecture, who is an architectural design, urban design firm. Scape is a landscape architecture firm. We have In-Group that is focused on community engagement. They designed the website. We have Iris on the team, who has supported the development of the app. And Sam Schwartz, who is focused in on transportation, and Hire Gruel, that is focused in on land use. We also received a couple questions before the meeting. Betty from Newark asked, will there be any opportunities for residents to gain specialized training to gain employment in this planning? Keeping in mind this helps create sustainable communities. That is, that's a really good question. And one of the things that will be talked about throughout this project is, that solution development is not always just physical. It could be policy related or governance related or programmatic. And adaptive capacity is another big area for solution development. And so what this request to provide specialized training and help people gain employment in resilience building is, I think, one of the potential solution areas that have been coming up. And Melissa asked, what is the available funding pool for implementation? So there's two different ways to think about that. As part of this project, we do have an allocation of funding that will enable us to implement some of the solutions. It won't allow us to do final design or construction, but we could use the money to implement highest priority conceptual designs. We could do some conceptual designs with that money. We could do some policy or program development, and we could implement some adaptive capacity related improvements. And so roughly a third of our budget has been reserved to enable that. There's also multiple funding sources that are coming available through the stimulus. And there's an annual program called the BRIC program that was recently released by FEMA that can provide funding toward capital improvements that we'll be looking into. And I don't see any other questions popping up in the chat. Megan, are you ready to push us all out into our
there are still a lot of people who haven't selected a breakout, so I'm giving them to Natalie and Horacio, and then the rest will stay up front with us. Okay. And I think just another minute.
Okay, so you'll be ready in just a moment?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I did get one other question about the need to highlight native plants and rain gardens. And that is also on, that's in the list for the toolkit. I'm going to open my screen again. I'm going to share my screen just so people can see the breakout options. And while we're waiting, we'd also love to hear from you how you heard about the meeting tonight.
Okay, I think we are ready to go. And then if there are still people who we need to have sorted out, we can do that after we've shifted people. So once we send everyone, you have the option to return to the main session at any time. So if you would like to change, you can do that, and then I'll move you. All right.
Thanks, Megan.
Okay. Going to send people off now.